In the competitive world of avian real estate, building the perfect home is everything. It's a project that demands tons of time, energy, and a serious eye for design. But for some birds, the pressure to create a safe haven for the next generation drives them to a life of crime. This is the story of a thief, one who saves precious energy by stealing supplies from its unsuspecting neighbors. You're watching a daylight robbery in progress, and the culprit isn't after jewels or cash. They're after something far more valuable: second-hand building materials. The motive: a costly project. Building a home is one of the biggest projects in life, and it's no different for birds. Forget that charming image of a bird happily weaving a twig into place. The reality is a high-stakes, high-energy construction job that can absolutely make or break a breeding season. Imagine having to find every single piece of your future home, one by one. Every twig, every strand of moss, every tuft of fur has to be found, checked for quality, and then carried back, often over long distances, all while you're dodging predators and rivals. This whole process is incredibly expensive, not in money, but in calories. Each flight burns energy that could be used for laying eggs or feeding chicks. The time spent gathering materials is time spent exposed and vulnerable. A 2013 review in Avian Biology Research emphasized that nest construction is a significant energetic cost that scientists have only recently begun to fully appreciate. Some birds might make hundreds, even over 1,000, trips to build a single nest. That's 1,000 chances for a hawk to spot you, 1,000 flights that drain your reserves. Faced with this monumental task, some birds have evolved a clever, if ethically dubious, shortcut. Why spend days searching for the perfect materials when your neighbor has already done the heavy lifting for you? If you can save time and energy by swiping what another bird has already collected, you can get to the crucial business of breeding faster, with less risk, and maybe even with a better quality nest. In the cutthroat game of evolution, a good shortcut can be the difference between success and failure. The heist sequence high in the misty forests of Hawaii, a quiet crime wave has been unfolding. Here, researchers recently documented something that birdwatchers had only suspected for years: native forest birds are actively robbing each other's nests for materials. This isn't about stealing eggs or chicks. This is about grabbing the raw building supplies, the twigs, the moss, the bark fibers. It's the bird version of your neighbor, borrowing your lumber, your siding, and your insulation, all without asking. A recent study published in the American Naturalist finally put numbers to this behavior. Over 6 months, a team from UC Riverside monitored 216 nests of native Hawaiian honeycreepers, including the brilliant scarlet iiwi and the crimson apapani. They witnessed 39 separate instances of theft. This wasn't just a rare, quirky event, it was a clear pattern. The apapani, one of the most common birds in the area, turned out to be both the top thief and the most frequent victim, a perfect storm of opportunity and availability. What makes this feathered felony so fascinating is its audacity. While most of the targeted nests were already abandoned, a daring 10% of the thefts were from active nests. These birds were stealing from homes that were either still being built or already had eggs or chicks inside. The researchers saw how this disruption could lead to disaster. In some cases, the theft compromised the nest structure. In others, just the disturbance was enough to make the parents abandon their home. The study found that in 2 of the 39 theft events, about 5% of them, the victim's nest failed shortly after the robbery. It's a small number, but it proves that this life of crime has real, and sometimes fatal, consequences. The science behind the crime, this behavior of stealing resources, whether it's a meal or a home, has a scientific name: kleptoparasitism. The term literally means parasitism by theft. Most of us know it in the context of food. Think of a gull snatching your fries at the beach, or a formidable frigate bird, the pirate of the sea, chasing smaller birds until they drop their hard-won meal. Bald eagles are even known to steal fish straight from smaller ospreys. But nest material theft is a different flavor of the same strategy. Instead of stealing dinner, these birds are stealing the drywall. It's a resource-based crime, and it's likely way more common than we ever realized, especially in solitary birds where it's harder to spot. The Hawaiian study was so important because it was one of the first to track and quantify the behavior on such a scale in the wild, turning years of field anecdotes into hard data. One of the most interesting patterns that emerged was what the researchers called the height overlap hypothesis. Thefts were most common between nests located at similar heights in the trees. This suggests the birds aren't master burglars carefully planning their heists. Instead, they just seem to be opportunists. While hunting for insects in their usual treetop corridor, they might stumble upon a poorly guarded nest that just so happens to contain the perfect, pre-collected materials. It's a crime of convenience. The forest, it seems, may be filled with these accidental crime scenes, where one bird's daily commute becomes another's home renovation nightmare. An evolutionary arms race. This whole story of theft is part of a much larger evolutionary arms race that's all about one thing: reproduction. A nest isn't just a messy pile of sticks, it's a survival machine. It's an incubator, a fortress, and a nursery all in one, engineered to protect eggs and chicks from bad weather, predators, and parasites. The constant threat of destruction, whether from a predator or a thieving neighbor, has driven an incredible diversity of nest designs. Some birds build simple cups. Others weave intricate, hanging baskets. Weaverbirds, for example, build complex, enclosed nests with downward-facing entrances, a design thought to be a defense against invaders. If theft is common, natural selection will likely favor birds that build better, more defensible homes. Loose structures are easily picked apart. Nests in obvious locations are easy targets. Over generations, this pressure can lead to nests that are better hidden, built in safer spots, or made with materials that are just harder to steal. Of course, there are risks for the thief, too. Stealing from a neighbor can provoke an aggressive defense. A small warbler might think twice before trying to steal from a northern cardinal, whose powerful beak is designed for crushing seeds and could inflict serious damage. Plus, stolen materials could come with unwanted hitchhikers, like parasites or diseases, which would be a disaster to bring into your own home. It's a high-risk, high-reward strategy. The benefit of saving energy has to be constantly weighed against the cost of a fight or a disease-ridden nest. For the birds, this isn't about morality. It's just a complex, non-stop calculation of risk versus reward. When we hear about birds stealing from each other, it's easy to see them as villains and victims. But in biology, they're just competitors. The behavior exists because, on average, it works. However, that doesn't mean it's without consequences, especially in an ecosystem that's already under immense pressure. The native forest birds of Hawaii are in trouble. They're already facing a ton of threats: habitat loss, climate change, and devastating avian diseases like avian malaria, which is spread by invasive mosquitoes. For a species already struggling to survive, every single nesting attempt is critical. In this fragile context, even a seemingly minor pressure like nest theft can start to matter. When a nest fails because its walls were stolen, it represents a huge loss of energy and a missed chance to reproduce for a population that just can't afford it. Those documented nest failures, while few, represent an additional burden on species already pushed to their absolute limit. Conservationists now recognize that these small, often overlooked interactions can have bigger effects. Protecting a species isn't just about saving its habitat, it's about understanding the entire web of behaviors and competitions that determine if it can reproduce successfully. While we can't exactly stop one bird from stealing from another, understanding when and why it happens can help make conservation efforts more effective. In the end, for the thief, the payoff is a finished home. The stolen twigs, the pilfered moss, the borrowed fibers, they all come together to form a successful nest. This is the ultimate goal, the whole reason for the risk. The ill-gotten gains have been turned into a safe structure, ready to hold the next generation. From an evolutionary standpoint, this criminal enterprise is a success. The story of the nest thief is a powerful reminder that the natural world is far more complex and competitive than it often appears. Birds aren't simple, instinct-driven robots. They're constantly making decisions and trade-offs, weighing risks against rewards in a relentless quest to survive. Careful scientific research is what lets us pull back the curtain on these hidden dramas, turning a casual observation into a deep insight about how life works. The quiet, invisible conflicts happening right above our heads are shaping the future of entire species. So the next time you see a bird's nest, take a moment. Ask yourself not just who built it, but who might be trying to steal it, and what that quiet act of larceny tells us about the intricate, and sometimes criminal, business of survival. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the weird and wonderful world of bird behavior, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more stories from the natural world. And let me know in the comments, which topic do you want to see next? The bizarre materials birds use to build their nests, the evolutionary war between birds and brood parasites, or the incredible engineering of bird nests? Let me know below.